Okay, we're gonna say okay.
Okay,
Well,
dokie. So,
good morning, everybody. This is Tune In Tuesday. This is our fifth production of Tune In Tuesday. The very first time we had Jennifer Schaefer, the walk director from St. Louis for the Alzheimer's Association. Woo woo, one of the top walks in the nation, top 10% out of actually top 1% out of 600 plus walks. And she is here today to talk to us about Alzheimer's awareness. And also, she was here on the program for women's health. If you didn't hear that one, holy cow, you need to hear it. I'm Diane Finnested, and this is Courtney Hudson. And Courtney is the content creator for Tune In Tuesday. Right now, we're going to depart from the Tune In Tuesday content, and Jennifer Schaefer is going to give us a 15-minute presentation about supporting brain health in our community. Listen up, folks. Here we go.
thank you, Diane. And just hello. Diane, as we all know, is a huge partner with any mission that she chooses to be involved. So we are very honored to be on your program today, Diane. And Courtney, thank you always for brilliantly coordinating these programs. So I'm going to jump right into it. For many that may not be aware, June is Alzheimer's and Brain Health Awareness Month. So we're packing a punch this month with regard to helping corporate America, communities, civic organizations benefit from the information that the Alzheimer's Association provides freely to our community and partners. With that being shared, let's talk a little bit about brain health in our community. And let's get started with some facts and figures. So every April, every person in the association gets pretty excited because we get our new updated facts and figures. And, I will just start with the simple fact that more than 7.2 to 7.4 million diagnosed cases of Alzheimer's individuals are living with this disease, and more than 13 million caregivers are responsible for the love and support of their loved one in the dementia journey. But I think what we need to really drill down in these facts and figures are the numbers that are being affected in the capacity that this disease kills more than cancer and prostate cancer combined annually. And if you sit in that in a moment, you think of all the loved ones we know who have endured through breast cancer and prostate cancer and those results, and to know that this disease kills more than those two cancers combined. That is a significant impact in our lives with our loved ones. But there's also the dollar factor, and that is quite simply 19 billion hours of unprofessional caregiving. That's us as loved ones taking care of our loved ones, equates to $446 billion annually. That is realized with the home care initiative of us. And then when you look at the $409 billion that what this nation endures costs wise is significant. And knowing that those numbers are quickly increasing to what we will believe easily by 2050, $1 trillion a year that the nation spends with this disease. But here's a little bit of information. The lifetime risk for Alzheimer's now at age 45, this is no longer a 65 plus senior disease. We are diagnosing individuals in their 40s easily with this disease. 1 in 5 women that are at risk, and 1 in 10 men are at risk for this disease at 45 years of age. So I'm going to let you all sit in those moments, that information for a moment as I advance the slide, and certainly welcome any questions following this. I know Diane, maybe even Courtney have some questions to ask. But let's get into the presentation. The Alzheimer's Association, we do lead the way to end Alzheimer's and all other dementia. And we are actively in our communities, corporate and civic, trying to drive accelerating global research, driving risk reduction and early detection. We'll talk about that a little bit later in this presentation, but also maximizing quality care and support. And truly, ultimately, our vision is a world without Alzheimer's and all other dementia. So individuals are like, well, what's the difference between dementia and all these other diseases? So dementia is the umbrella term, and cognitive decline is something that references the changes in memory, thinking, or reasoning that worsen over time. Again, this disease is, unfortunately, there is no cure. It's 100% fatal. But going back to the dementia umbrella, Alzheimer's disease is an actual disease. It's not old timers disease, it's Alzheimer's. It is an actual disease that falls underneath the dementia umbrella and is the most frequently diagnosed of the disease out there. Vascular dementia, that's your heart health, it can develop. Lewy body, which is pronounced hallucinations, is one of those symptoms of that disease. Frontal temporal disease, where quickly the early memories remain, but the immediate memories of the morning perhaps are affected more so. And then there's other diseases that come in to play, such as Parkinson's disease. Also, Down syndrome adults are 50% more likely to pass with Alzheimer's disease. So there's a lot of correlation, and we do not know why. Still to this day, trying to unlock the answers. That being shared, the importance of early detection. If you have a loved one that you're watching see some changes in memory and behavior, take note. Write down things in a private journal, if you will. But the thing is, today, the Alzheimer's Association is full of hope. And that is because, for example, 7 years ago when I started in this role, there were no drug treatments specifically toward the disease, and that has changed. And encourage you to talk to a physician of your loved one, even encouraging you to go with that loved one on their next physician's appointment. But there is so much in the ability that we can do to take action to help protect our brain. And another important factor is the risk reduction model. We can't change our age, we can't change our genetics or our family history. And a lot of individuals don't know this, but the Black and Brown community is 2 times more likely to develop this disease than the Caucasian community in America. The Latino populace, 1.5 times more likely to develop the disease than white community here, as well as women, unfortunately, are 2/3 more likely to develop the disease as compared to men. But we can change a little bit of the outcome of a potential dementia risk quite simply by brain health, certain health conditions, and reducing the overall factor with health behaviors. So we'll get into that. The 10 healthy habits for your brain is something that we are truly trying to keep top of mind with not only at-risk adults, but also our younger generation and the things of what they do, the activities and the choices that we make. We are trying to influence that good behavior versus some of the more negative sides that directly impact the opportunity to develop Alzheimer's. So that being shared, managing your major health concerns, such as controlling your blood pressure, managing your diabetes, getting moving. Walking is something that for most is very easily able to do. Dancing is great, gardening, whatever works for you to raise that heart rate a little bit, sweat a little bit is actually very good, and increase that blood flow and oxygen to your brain and body. Eating right. We know that the Mediterranean diet is probably one of the best programs to follow just as an overall general good health choice. And so that emphasis with eating right, getting moving, maintaining a healthy weight, it's something that I have battled all of my life, but just trying to manage those things. Also, for all of us out there who wake up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, sleeping well is paramount in the fight against Alzheimer's. So, and many individuals don't realize, but when we go to sleep and we go into rapid eye movement sleep, we're in that deep, deep sleep. That's when our brain flushes toxins and our body removes those toxins from our brain and our body. So, good brain health starts with 7 to 9 hours of sleep, and achieving rapid eye movement sleep is certainly a goal. Also, smoke free. We have now been a part of a nation that certainly has changed its habits from years ago to a smoke free environment. Many corporate campuses are smoke free, as are faith based and education campuses. So try to stay away from cigarettes, and probably vaping is in that context as well. Also, protecting your head. So when you're out biking or you're doing something physically active, here it looks like somebody's roller skating here. Certainly make sure to protect that brain of yours. It houses everything for your body. So just put that helmet on. Anyway, stay in school. Always consider learning something new every day and challenge your mind. Opportunities to learn foreign language, play a musical instrument. I take a new way home. It's just not St. Louis traffic, but I try to take different ways to get home every evening or different way into work. That challenges my brain. A little bit of stress is good. It makes your brain immediately come into action and work a little bit differently to work through a problem. But the 10 healthy habits for your brain, those are risk factors that have the strongest level of evidence and current body of science. Let's lower that risk. And exciting research I will share. There are many topics, including hearing and vision loss. Stress and air pollution can be attributing factors as well. That being shared, the U.S. Pointer study released last year, about coming up in July, actually really gave us the formula to share with everyone about what we can do to try to prevent Alzheimer's and lower that risk of developing it. And the formula, quite simply, is physical exercise, health monitoring, nutrition, and cognitive exercise. And I've reviewed all that information just with those 10 healthy habits. But it's so paramount. Now we know good choices. What's good for the heart is good for the brain. And we need to consider those when we're making those health choices. That being shared, take charge of your brain health. We want to make sure that you are doing or are aware of the choices that you make and the impact that it can make on your brain health. And healthy living lowers the risk of cognitive decline and possibly even, yes, dementia. I also want to share too that women, please, please, please take note that we often are the caregivers of our loved ones, our family, and our friends. And while we are two-thirds more likely to develop the disease, that is one impact, but it's also the impact of a caregiver. And that we don't want you as a caregiver to feel alone in this journey that you are on with a loved one. And I can't encourage you all all enough, to please take care of yourselves. Please understand how important not only caregiving, but caregiving, self-giving of yourself, care for yourself, as caregiving is a whole other role in this dementia journey. Also, we want to share the resources of the Alzheimer's Association that are free to everyone. The 24/7 helpline is amazing. 1-800-272-3900. Please, please, please write that message or that number down. You may be in a conversation with someone who has questions, and certainly our helpline is there in so many facets. Not only it's confidentially ran, but it's also for those that have maybe just been diagnosed with a dementia. Caregivers can call, families and to the public can call anytime, and more than 200 languages are accessed by our professional master level clinicians on the helpline. Also, free education and support. If you know a group of individuals who would want to learn more and maybe even have this presentation in their communities, and we have multiple other presentations available, we would love to hear from you. And of course, trial match. We don't have enough individuals involved in studies regarding brain health and dementia, and certainly would love to be able to match you with an ongoing research project. So those are just some of the pieces of information about how our mission to end Alzheimer's. You can come on board and say, step into the mission and be a part. That being shared, Walk to End Alzheimer's is in more than 600 communities, as Diane shared at the top of this presentation. And St. Louis is very generous and very philanthropic and very much aware of this disease. And we are just thrilled with our national partnerships, one in Edward Jones. Thank you to them for everything, the impact that they have made in this incredible mission, but also Washington University School of Medicine Knight Alzheimer's Disease Research Center is located right here in St. Louis, and a big part of our mission and global research. So that being shared, join the Walk to End Alzheimer's. We would love to have you come out and create the awareness and also the funds that are generated to support our mission with regard to care, support, and research. So, Diane, Courtney, do y'all have any questions at this point?
I love what you do, Jennifer. I love your heart. I also love your work ethic. I think that you're amazing. You just get out there and you just support the community in everything in any way you possibly can. I think that is outstanding. One of the things that I found that is just incredible, is my involvement with the Alzheimer's Walk. Because it is such a great place to show everyone that you are not just talking the talk as someone who's in health and life insurance. You're actually literally walking the walk. And it's one where you can tell people all the time, hey, here's a great insurance policy. This is how it's going to work when you have Alzheimer's. This is how it's going to work when you're a caregiver. But there's another thing to get out there in the community with the people that you serve and help the community understand what this organization is doing to put an end to Alzheimer's. They want to end it. That's why they have the app End Alz. It is fantastic, folks. It helps people so much. And I have just been so blessed with all the families that I've met. Last year, we were right there in St. Louis, and it's again this year. It'll be October 31st is the walk in Chesterfield for St. Louis and St. Louis County, and then St. Charles County, right next door to us, they have a walk as well. But
Uh-huh.
it was one this year where standing there, seeing everyone and seeing who they walk for and why, and hearing their stories, it's life changing. And so I immediately just got my iPhone out and I immediately just started taking pictures of everyone because not everybody had a camera with them. because and so Courtney and I was like, Courtney, get your phone out. She started taking pictures and I started taking pictures, and we thought, well, how in the world are we gonna get these pictures to these people? I just started handing them my card. Here's my card. They're going to be on my Facebook. If you want me to take a picture down or don't want to put it up there, just let me know and they'll be up there. And I've had it up there, and I can't tell you how many people have called me, number one, to get more of their pictures, number two, to ask me questions about insurance,
Yeah.
particularly for those that have Alzheimer's, cognitive disorders.
Yes.
So, with that being said, this is our fifth program, and I have
Mhm.
not yet talked about insurance. Not once, really.
Oh,
Not really, Courtney, I haven't really. Not at all. But today, I feel compelled to do it. I'm moved to do it, and then we're going to go into the program and the content that Courtney has prepared, which is fantastic. But I want to let you guys know that you can have a cognitive impairment and still get caregiver insurance for your loved ones and still have some home health care insurance. Again, I'm going to say it. You can have a cognitive impairment as long as you're able to do all your activities of daily living: bathing, dressing, toileting, transferring, continence, eating, all the things that we do when we first wake up in the morning. You can do all that and have a cognitive impairment. Guess what? You can get a plan for that would have up to $178,000 in benefits. If you're 50 years old or 65 years old, let's just say that. And you say, Diane, I've got this cognitive impairment, but I can do all this other stuff. I'm not in the hospital. I'm not in a facility. And I take I take like five medications. Okay, well, there's some programs that give you back money on your medications. Gentleman that Courtney and I talked to last week, 65 years old, took five medications. He was worried a little bit about cognitive. And I said, don't worry, as long as you can do all that other stuff, that you can do in the morning, all your activities of daily living, we can go ahead and we can submit an application. He said, well, how much is it for like the $112,000 of benefits where I get $100 a day that can go towards an aid for 360 days? I said, for you, because you take the five medications, it's $53.35 a month. Plus, you're going to get like $3,500 twice cash when you have an unpaid caregiver in your house for like an hour a week. He goes, like my wife? And I'm like, yeah, like your wife, your kids, or whoever that unpaid caregiver is. He goes, wow. And he goes, and the 112,000? I go, yeah, up to that. He goes, it's got to be a lot. I go, no, it's $53.35. Plus you turn in your receipts for your medications. They're worth $10 each. He goes, but I don't pay anything for them. I go, you don't have to. It's they just want to see you're taking medications. They want to monitor and see how you're doing. And he goes, okay. And he goes, so what happens then? I go, you get $50 back. It's non-taxable. So really your actual cost to have all that coverage is $3.35. And he said, Diane, why wouldn't everyone in America do that? I go, because everyone in America doesn't know about it. It's up to an insurance agent to tell you about it, but they don't make a great commission on it because it's not a very, profitable product. I said, but here's the thing. I said, it's my mission to tell you about it because if they did put it on the billboards and they had all the commercials and everything, well, you absorb all of that cost in your plan and it wouldn't be that low. I said the purpose is that it will change your life when you need it, not while you're paying for it. And he said, okay, that sounds great. So there's my pitch about about short-term home health care, folks. I believe everyone in America needs to have this because the hip replacements, the knee replacements, the joint replacements, all that kind of stuff, even if it's short term, you still need to have it because all of Medicare, and I could go way into the weeds, has been diminished since the creation of the ACA, Obamacare, Marketplace, healthcare.gov. They're all inclusive, all the same names for the same thing. So this particular product is something that will help every single family, if not the person who already has cognitive decline, but also family members. Because what's a real whammy is when you have two people in a family that need care at the same time. Then you don't have enough unpaid caregivers to go around. That's a whole other issue. So there are some things that are affordable. Obviously, $3.35 is affordable for my client to have that solution. So we need to talk. So with that being said, I'm going to go on. Courtney, did you have a question or anything? Or you're like, go on, Diane.
You can go on. I just want to say I think Jennifer is amazing and I appreciate everything you do. So thank you.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Okay, so Tune In Tuesday, that's what we are here for, folks. So Courtney's going to put this on there, and we're presenting the Alzheimer's awareness, awareness that leads to understanding, understanding that leads to action, and action changes lives. So we already heard some statistics. This is going to be a review. And as Courtney catches up to where I'm almost on the fourth slide. So 7.4 Americans are living with Alzheimer's, 4 million people are living with Alzheimer's. Someone newly develops the disease every 65 seconds. 1 in 3 older adults dies with Alzheimer's, and the lifetime risk for Alzheimer's at age 45 is 1 in 5 women and 1 in 10 for men. Now we're all living longer.
Hold on one second. I can't get it to share. Hold on a second.
It's okay. I'll keep going. I'm on like 5. What is Alzheimer's? Alzheimer's is a progressive, irreversible brain disorder. And Jennifer already attested to that. And she said, once you have it, you can't get rid of it. It destroys your memory, thinking skills, and the ability to carry out simple daily tasks. And it's characterized by physical changes in the brain that lead to buildup of abnormal proteins. As this destroys neurons, the brain's ability to transmit messages is compromised. So what does it look like? The disease worsens over time. There's memory loss, there's cognitive decline, there's judgment and planning, and then there's behavioral changes, mood swings, that type of thing. How is it diagnosed? Well, a physician and physicians use a combination of mental and neuropsychological tests, MRIs, PET scans, lumbar punctures. Now, one of my sweet friends told me something that's very important, that when you look at your codes, if you are having this diagnosed or anything diagnosed for that matter, look at your codes, because if you go in and get a CT scan or any scan and they scan more than one part of your body, a lot of times the hospitals will separate that scan into 2 separate scans. But if you only went in for one scan, they have to put it all under that one scan, that one code. They can't separate it out. That's called unbundling from the particular hospital when they do that. And that's how hospitals make money, because we don't know the difference as American public. So pay attention to your bills. If you went in for one scan, it's one scan. But if they separate it into 2, well, then that's where there's questions that you can ask. And that's the transparency law that has come out since COVID. So you need to know what your rights are. If you don't know your rights, call me. I'm happy to go over them with you. What are the risk factors? Factors that cannot be changed. Age can't be changed, just like Jennifer said. We can't change our age, our genetics, our sex, but we can modify, and she said, with lifestyle choices. Let's walk, folks. Let's get exercised. You know, all those 4 quadrants that she was mentioning. She said, you know, wear a helmet. Even me, Miss Vanity sometimes with my hair, I don't want to wear a helmet, but boy, I will, because, I want to have a long life. So my helmet, of course, is bedazzled, just like anybody's should be, right? So one of the most significant modifiable risk factors for Alzheimer's disease is cardiovascular health. So we're going to kind of deep dive into this. So we can see the link between the heart and the brain because Jennifer said, if your heart's healthy, your brain's healthy. Well, how's that really mix? The brain only accounts for 2% of body weight, but consumes 20% of the body's oxygen and energy. A healthy heart, enough blood is pumped to the brain, and healthy blood vessels enable oxygen to reach the brain for normal function. An example is when a stroke occurs, a blood vessel is blocked or burst, and the risk of dementia increases. Folks, I got to tell you something. This is so important. Go get your eyes checked. I talk to people who are turning 65 all the time about Medicare. And they say, well, I'm just going to wait till after I get my Medicare and I'm going to go get my dementia, my dental checkup, and I'm going to go get my vision checkup. Now, they don't always sound like that. I'm just putting a voice in there so you can remember me saying that to you. That is not a slight to anybody that I talk to. But I will tell you that that's the worst decision you could ever make is to skip your dental. Skipping your dental, the plaques in our teeth go straight down to our cardiovascular system, number one. Number two, when you get your eyes checked, they do that little puff and you think, oh, that's 1 second of my life. That's a huge second in your life because what they're monitoring is your capillaries that are the smallest in your body. And if there's any indication of inflammation in those capillaries or any indication that is not showing normalcy, then guess what, folks? You got a chance that you're going to have a stroke. You got a chance that you're going to have a heart attack. And now you know you got a chance if you're going to have dementia. So the eye check puff is the 1 second puff is like puffing into your future. And like, just think of magic. It shows your whole health future. So that is very important. Don't skip it, 64-year-olds. You got to go get this stuff done before you turn 65 and just have Medicare pick it up. It's going to save you more money to get it done than it is to wait. Okay, enough said about that. So did you know that in 2026, Alzheimer's and other dementias will cost the nation $409 billion? Wow. Okay, that's a lot of money. So by 2050, these costs will rise, and Jennifer already said $1 trillion. It was in the very first slide she put up. That's a real number. But folks, think about it. $1 trillion. What does that look like? Okay, go to the most expensive neighborhood in your city and drive down the street and you see $1 million house, $1 million house, $1 million house, $1 million house. Now, how many $1 million houses do you need to see before it equals $1 billion? How many now do you need to see with your own eyes to equal $1 trillion? Maybe that allows you to see how much money that is and who pays for it, folks. We do in our health insurance because it's all averaged in there. The actuarial tables are in there. So the more we're spending on certain diseases, the more our health insurance goes up and up and up. And the more unpredictable it is, or with the prediction that it never ends once you get it, the more money we end up spending to support this. So whether you are giving a donation directly to the Alzheimer's Association, your money is going towards this and all other major diseases, whether you like it or not, because we live in America and that's the way the system works in a nutshell. So what are some early warning signs? Let's look. They include memory loss. that disrupts daily life. Now, every time I see this, I think, oh my gosh, I think I got it because I never can find my keys. So, now I have them on this big, huge, keychain thing that I can find. Really, I think Shark Tank has got to come up with something better for women like me to find their keys.
Because you
So,
still lose them.
so yes. Exactly. And if I had keys everywhere, I wouldn't remember where I put them. It's a key thing. I don't know what it is. I don't know why. I don't know. But if it's more than keys, this is what I'm talking about. Challenges, planning, or solving problems. Like cooking. Have you ever seen someone that just stopped cooking? Was a really, really good cook. And they could follow any recipe. They can get in the kitchen. They could cook it up, man. They could do like six things at once. And this pot's going, that pot's going. They went grocery shopping. They got all that, unloaded. They've got it all going on, and all of a sudden, they can't make macaroni and cheese. We got a problem with that. So that's an indication. Folks, when you go, if you're in my category and you are going home and you haven't seen your parents in a long time, now both my parents are passed, and you notice new problems with words and speaking, you notice misplacing things, losing the ability to retrace the steps, decreased or poor judgment. Like I could drive, not when you drink, the society says, don't drive and don't drink and drive. But when they're like, they're just a horrible driver. You grab their keys, folks. I mean, who cares if you offend them? You're going to save their life. I mean, we're talking about people that used to be able to operate a lawnmower. And now that is a major machine. We're talking about when you get a pill bottle and on there it says, do not operate heavy machinery. My sister once asked me, she said, Diane, what heavy machinery do you think that is? I go, I don't know. I guess if I was working on a farm. And she goes, no, idiot, it's your car. I was like, oh, I was like, well, as long as I'm not on a tractor, I'm okay. But I'm telling you, folks, you've got to just think about the judgment. Look at the organizational skills. A house that used to be really clean, an office that used to be perfect. Laundry that's piled up, chores that were easier that are no longer easier. I'm saying this because I think that I'll probably replay this for clients who are going to see their parents for the first time after 6 months, their aging parents. And so they can look for these things and see, is there an obvious decline? Because sometimes it's so subtle. And sometimes, like my dad was so good at hiding it. He was so good at it until we were like, what is he doing with all of this stuff on this one shelf? And it was a shelf in the kitchen where my dad would never have put all the things that he had on that shelf. He had it organized, but it was just like shoved on the shelf, and it was all of this sugar. And my dad never ate sugar. And I'm like, what is happening? So, withdrawal from work and social activities, that kind of thing, changes in mood and personality. Okay, but the little indicators, like the things that they used to think their favorite shirt, they love their favorite shirt. They love their favorite hat. They stopped wearing it. Well, what's going on there? Why aren't you wearing your favorite hat anymore? Hey, you used to love going to the baseball game. Why aren't you going to the baseball game? It was these little things that dad, it changed with him. It wasn't major. It was just little, where we were just like, what is happening with him? He used to love going and just watching girls softball instead of just coaching. He just loved to watch it. But all of a sudden he just didn't really like it anymore. And I'm like, Dad, why aren't you going? Well, I just don't feel like it. Okay, well, dive a little deeper, ask some open-ended questions when you get these clues, and talk to your siblings and your family about it, because hiding it doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse, folks. So just start talking about it. Now, if you notice these signs in someone, have the conversation. Well, that's easier said than done. But the Alzheimer's Association is there to help you. Just like Jennifer said, there's a 24-hour hotline, and you can call them and you can say, hey, I'm thinking about having this conversation with my sister, my brother, my mom, my dad, my friend. Can you kind of guide me through it? And they can do a role play with you and let you know, how it sounds, if it sounds judgy, or if it sounds like you're coming from a place of kindness. And so, use that as a source for you to be able to ask questions like, help me understand, tell me more, which are not judging. You're just wanting to love them and love them for where they are, not where they once were. Okay. So, is it usually best to have a one-on-one conversation so the person doesn't feel threatened? It is usually best. And have the conversation ASAP. Offer to go to the doctor with the person. Oh my gosh, going to the doctor with my dad, that was just ridiculous. Now, my mom was fine. She was like, oh, you can come with me, no problem. My dad, oh my gosh, no, Diane Ruth, you're not going to go to this with me. And then I would try and, have a conversation with the doctor, and he would try and hint and let me know to get around HIPAA laws, what was actually going on. So get permission from your parents or whoever you are caring for to have that conversation and to be that person listed as a person of emergency contact that can receive your information. Those of you that go it alone, guess what? You go it alone. And going it alone is very lonely, especially if you're ill or you're unable to make decisions for yourself. Always, always, always consider having someone else listed as an emergency contact so that they can love you for where you are, not where you were. So the first conversation may not be successful, and that's okay. Guess what? Takes 7 times for us to hear a commercial before we know it's Budweiser. First time I saw that commercial with that Clydesdale and that gorgeous eagle, I'm like, what's that all about? Wow, that must be for an airplane. I thought it was gonna be like Eagle Airlines or something. And I'm like, wow, that's a great commercial. It must be a commercial about a new horse and that's gonna run the Kentucky Derby. I'm like, no, Clydesdales don't do that. And then it dawned on me, oh, it's got to be a commercial about the opening day for the ballpark for the Cardinals. Nope, about the seventh time I got it. That was it. Budweiser was saying, drink more Budweiser because we got Clydesdales and Eagles. So the same thing goes with this. Have the conversation, switch it up a bit. Have the conversation, switch it up a bit. Have the conversation, switch it up a bit. And guess what? When you're right, you're right. So stay right. Just because someone else is trying to tell you that you're wrong doesn't mean that you're wrong and you need to shut up. Okay? When you're right, you're right. So just get loving about it and call the Alzheimer's Association so you have the right words. So now let's talk about caregiving and Alzheimer's disease. Okay, we did 13 million people. They're unpaid. Well, there's 53 million people that are unpaid altogether. So if Alzheimer's is taking over the 13 million people, well, guess what? 50 other, well, actually, no, hello, Diane, do math. 40 million other people are doing all the other diagnosis that can happen in our bodies and taking care of someone. So these individuals provide over 19 billion hours of cared value over 446 billion. That's why there's this Daughters Act that they're trying to say that we need to have in Congress. And it really should be called the Family Act. So hopefully you'll pay attention to it as I am and see what comes from that in the future. Because the number one reason why people fill out FMLA for the Family Medical Leave Act with their employer is because they are a caregiver, not because they're receiving care. It's because they are a caregiver and they choose to give that up. Now, what they say is for daughters, we give up usually at age 51. And that's the average. That's our top earning years as daughters at age 51. And so that can significantly impact our ability to collect Social Security, when we collect it, and the amount that we collect for the rest of our lives. So, folks, when it says, did you know? And you look at these statistics, you have to think how many people that represents that are going through all of that. It's not just an emotional crisis, it's a financial crisis. And because it happens most often to women, it is something that's not talked about. That's why I'm so glad we're here today. So, emotional impact of Alzheimer's. Well, let's talk about it. So, if it's happening to women as caregivers, then guess what? We're emotional. So we are prone to this. For the person diagnosed, you've got fear, frustration, anxiety, depression, and loss of independence. Well, the first four are contagious in a home, I will tell you. If there's fear, it breeds fear. If there's frustration, breeds frustration. Anxiety breeds anxiety. Depression breeds depression. Because I will tell you, folks, the old adage is true: misery loves company. And that home starts to have a tone. So for the caregivers and families, here's the impact: stress. I want to be a positive person, but now I got to go deal with my dad. Okay, I can remember because I'd be like, Dad, we have to do this today. No, we don't. Dad, we have to do this, and you need to eat this today. No, don't. So, I mean, it just gets to where you have burnout, and then you have this guilt. Like, I stopped going to work. What am I going to do? Now I need to pay my own bills. I need to pay attention to my own family. I have my own relationship. A lot of people have their kids. They're going to college. They're trying to pay for that. And then the anticipatory grief and grief. I'll tell you what, that was the one, because I would leave my dad's home to go 5 houses away, and I would walk there and say, oh shit, I hope that wasn't the last moment I saw him. That is a terrible way to live, folks. That emotional impact. And we as women, we find that emotional impact. That's why it's so important to have the self-care. That's why it's so important to know that the Alzheimer's Association is there for you to lean on, to have a community, to have friends. Because when you tell your stories, and when I told my stories, and I still tell my stories, other women go, yeah, my dad was worse. And my dad did, and then we laugh about it because they're funny. I mean, my mom was funny too. I mean, they all are, but you have to have that community and that opportunity to have the space to be you and to express yourself. Don't isolate. So caregiving can be rewarding, but it can also be exhausting physically, emotionally, and financially. And so you need to accept help, take breaks, join support groups, maintain your medical health appointments because you matter, and set realistic expectations. And you can't pour from an empty cup. I've tried, and it doesn't work. So remember, memory loss can change relationships, and that's okay. I'm going to say it again. Memory loss can change relationships and family dynamics, and that's okay. Everything in life changes. If you go into it with an approach that everything will change and that you're open to the changes, then adult children can become decision makers. It's really difficult when you're still thinking of yourself, like I'm still thinking of myself as Diane. That's what my dad called me. But when I say, okay, I'm the adult, and it's one where, my friends can struggle and they'll know how to help, but some strategies, I can focus on the connection rather than correction. I can avoid arguing about forgotten details because no one wins. No one wins an argument. I'll tell you right now, my dad won every single argument. Everyone, every one of them. He's always right. He usually is always right, typically. And it's just me being stubborn. And so it was just a lot easier when I would just forget about those details. Okay, he doesn't want to eat. Okay, well, maybe he wants to eat this. Okay, well, here's a choice, either or. The either or approach is always a good one. So remember that strategy. Would you rather have a sandwich or would you rather have some soup? Okay, would you rather have this kind of soup with chicken noodle, or would you rather have some tortellini soup? Either or, either or. Those are really good choices, but open-ended, just think about the conversations you have with your significant other, your spouse, and you say, "Oh, where do you want to go to eat?" That could lead into like 25 minutes of just talk. Oh, we could go here, we could go here, we could go here. But an either or gets you a decision really fast. So celebrate small moments of joy, and then you can celebrate them again the next day. Remember when we did this yesterday and you did it really well? Great, we're going to do it again today. Great. And then you just build from that. So practice patience and compassion. Someone to tell me to practice patience, I almost want to wring their neck, but it's one where it's so important. So, but most of all, meet people where they are. No matter what, the journey does not have to be traveled alone. So for resources and more resources than what Jennifer has given you, then you can see all of these resources here. And you have the alls.org, you have voicestl.org, you have, what's that, the third one, Courtney?
It's Washington University. It's actually a link to a page on their website that has a whole list of resources for everybody in St. Louis. So I mean, it had everything you could ever think of on that list.
Oh, that's awesome. And then Aging Ahead also. So Aging Ahead's very involved in the Alzheimer's Association, and Voice STL, which is part of the Ombudsman program for 500 plus nursing homes on eastern half of Missouri, giving the voice to people that do not have family members. So in advocacy. So these resources, wow, Courtney, these are amazing. This will
There was
help.
one more too that I didn't add on there, but if you're looking for like caregivers, there is, Denise Huber with Martha's Hands. I just realized I didn't put on there, so I had to make sure I added that in.
Absolutely. And Sean Rimmerman with Comfort Care as
Yes,
well. And then there's so many others, y'all,
there's so many.
that we have friends with. Courtney having a BSW, a bachelor's in social work. Wow, we got a ton. And there's so many in your cities too. Anybody that's going to watch this, so you can get involved. And any of the organizations that are nonprofit as a life and health licensed insurance agent, you can get involved with them as a career educator. So not only can you provide information to them about Medicare, the under 65, the short-term care, home health care plans, the hospital indemnity plans, dental and vision plans, that type of thing, but you can work their booths that they have in the community, and you can support them by sharing with everyone about what they do, and then they will in turn support you with what you also offer and the solutions that you offer too. So I'm very thankful for these organizations in pouring into my business as well as my personal life. So I want to say thank you again to Jennifer Schaefer. I think she had to skedaddle out of here, but I'm so glad she was here. She's amazing. Courtney, you are amazing. And Courtney, what do we have coming up next month?
Oh gosh, I can't think off the top of my head.
Independence and mobility.
There we go. There we go. I should have known 4th of July. I forgot it was July already.
Independence. So I'm so excited about that one. And it's so important for everyone. And Courtney, where are we going this week? Tell everybody.
Charlotte.
Woo-woo! So we are headed to Charlotte and North Carolina bound. And Courtney has just done so amazing that she's going to go up there and learn from the very best in the industry. It's a women's group called WIPU, Women Insurance Producers Unfiltered. And I will be leading the Medicare panel with three amazing ladies. And so look for more of that on Facebook and hopefully YouTube as well. And we just had a wonderful conversation on Saturday about everything happening in Medicare and what the Medicare agents are doing, the best ones across the nation to serve their clients. So, Courtney, you've got on the right shirt today. What's your shirt say?
It is a walk to End Alzheimer shirt from last year because, like Diane said, we had a bunch of fun taking pictures of people, and I'm sure we're going to do it again this year. So you
Yes.
all need to come see us October 31st.
Yes, yes. So with that, we'll let y'all go. Thank you so much. Have a great week and a great month. See you on July 14th. Tune in Tuesday.